From The Greatest Showman cover. Well, that was a stoningly successful film, wasn't it? Well, let's welcome to the show film critic Van Connor to go over 3 big releases this weekend. Good evening, Van. I lost track of the day there. How are you?
I'm all good, Lily. Thank you.
Now, 3 very different films. Call the Wild, Like a Boss and Greed. I saw an enormous Mr. Harrison Ford on a bus leaving Oxford Station with some kind of husky. What's going on here?
First of all, the first thing to say is that is not a real husky. That thing is completely computer animated.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to come up in a moment. So this is based on I think it's a 1903 novel by Jack London, written for the screen by Michael Green, who gave us Blade Runner 2049 a couple of years ago, and directed by Chris Sanders, who's had something of a career directing animated films like Lilo and Stitch and The Cruise, How to Train Your Dragon, but he's making a start in live action with this. And it's the story of Buck, who is a cross between a Saint Bernard and another really large dog. So he's enormous. And he's the spoilt pet of a judge. And this is sort of during the sort of gold rush of, I think it's the 18th or 19th century. He is sold into effectively dog slavery and dog-napped and sold into dog slavery in the Yukon as a sled dog for the US mail service, just before the telegraph would come into being. This is part of his story. Another part will see him team up with Harrison Ford as a grizzled loner of a man seeking to sort of flee the world and just looking for adventure. I've got a clip for you that kind of sets the tone of this adventurous movie for you.
The Yukon is a dangerous place. You never know what's coming. I came up here because I didn't want to be around anyone. And then I met Buck. He was a dog like no other. He'd been spoiled.
Come on, Buck.
And he'd suffered.
Come on.
But he could not be broken.
Van, I can't decide whether to take this seriously. Just his voice. I met Buck. He was a dog. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. He's one of those. And don't get me wrong, Harrison Ford is in full-blown, where is my family? His entire function in this film is literally to wag his finger at people and tell them to be nice to dogs.
Well,
That's
Buck can wag his
tail.
He can wag his finger. Now, to The Boardroom, Like a Boss, Van, very different film.
So Like a Boss, very, very different film entirely. For one thing, Call of the Wild is good and Like a Boss is not. Like a Boss is an 83-minute comedy, which should set some alarm bells ringing, directed by Miguel Artera, who has something of an interesting CV. Has directed things like Youth in Revolt and The Good Girl, so, highbrow things. This is sort of a schlock girl comedy starring Tiffany Haddish and Rose Byrne as 2 lifelong sort of friends who work in the sort of independent sector of the makeup industry. They are bought out by a corporate tycoon played by Salma Hayek, who sets immediately about driving a wedge between them. I've got a clip for you of this wedge forcing them to fire one of their employees, played by Billy Porter.
Shame on your house.
Wait, firing you is not my idea. I promise.
Well, we wouldn't even be here had you not pushed me into letting Claire do a grab job on our company.
She saved our company, which was about to go broke.
Oh, yeah, and everything's so fantastic now.
No, nothing's fantastic now.
Hey! Shh. Witness my tragic moment.
Crikey. Do you know what, Van? I'm not gonna even let us waste any more breath on that, because we need to move on to Steve Coogan. Tell us about Greed.
Greed is the latest collaboration between Mr. Coogan and Michael Winterbottom. Of course, some years ago, they gave us the absolutely terrific 24-Hour Party People, the slightly less terrific Cock and Bull story after that. This is the story of Greedy MacReady, a corporate tycoon who is very clearly based upon Sir Philip Green.
I'm sad they didn't go for Greedy McGreed face, if I'm honest, but, I see what they did
there. That would have been so much more cutting edge. What you've got here is a satirical comedy that centres around a fictionalised version of Philip Green, who's celebrating his 60th birthday in Mykonos with a lavish party styled around the movie Gladiator that will see him posing as the Emperor. All the while, he is being trailed around by a biographer played by David Mitchell, who's something of a class warrior. He's got family drama going on. He's been torn apart in the press. He's being investigated by a public inquiry. I've got a clip for you of said inquiry.
Is this an investigation into my tax affairs? I pay what I have to and no more, because I'm not stupid. If you want to chase people avoiding tax, why don't you go after the big boys? I mean, look at Apple, look at Amazon, Starbucks. Why are you chasing me?
Right, yes, it's not them.
I suggest you Google it, Mr. Chairman. It's another company. How much tax do you think Google pay? Not very much. If you don't believe me, talk to Bono. He's avoided hundreds of millions of tax by claiming that you two are based in Holland. It doesn't stop him going around the world in your nan's sunglasses proclaiming about ending poverty or whatever.
He is very good, Steve Coogan. Is it good? Is it worth going to?
Greed, for want of a better term, as Michael Douglas once said, is good. This is really funny, really biting, takes really concerted stabs at the fast fashion industry, at reality television, at Sir Philip Green, obviously. Steve Coogan, terrific in it. I laughed end to end on this. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's not as good as 24-Hour Party People, but what is?
Brilliant stuff. You are an absolute star, Van Connor. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you, Van.
Till the next time.
Thank you.